Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha Khaja. For the past few weeks, Let the Quran Speak has been on the search for a new host. That search has now come to an end, and I'm extremely happy and honored to be joining the show as your new host. I do hope you'll bear with me as I get adjusted into this new role and learn about the ins and outs of television, especially as I attempt to fill the big shoes of Safiya Ali. With that said, in this first episode, I will be sitting down with Dr. Shabir Ali, President of the Islamic Information Center, to talk about taking on this new role. So, Dr. Shabir, welcome to your show, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to host it.
Well, now it's your show.
Okay, so welcome to our show.
Okay, you're bringing a lot of experience to this show, and I think it's important for our viewers to know about that, and also to see where you're coming from so they understand some of your views and perspectives. You work for the Ministry of Aboriginal Affairs.
So I work as an advisor in the Ministry of Aboriginal Affairs, so that's what I do full-time 9 to 5. And a bit of that work is looking at addressing some of the social issues within the Aboriginal community, like violence against Aboriginal women, youth suicides, looking at youth initiatives. And then on the side, I'm very interested in community initiatives, and part of the reason I was very interested about joining Let the Quran Speak. So I work on an initiative called Charity Week Canada, which works with universities across Canada to raise funds for orphans and needy children. And then I have an education background, so I also volunteer with the Tesla Institute as a research fellow to do a bit of curriculum development, addressing issues like Islamophobia, discrimination, racism, which is also why I was really interested in applying for this position, because it sort of bridges all of those interests together on TV.
Yeah, and I'm sure that our viewers will benefit from your perspectives and your unique experience from work and your educational background. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are going to be challenges for you on this show. And one of the things that you may need to get accustomed to is that if you ask me a question, I may give a very long answer. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in between, you'll have to have the courage to step in, interrupt, and let me know that I'm going too long with that.
Yeah.
And
so
we
what
need to
about
move
you?
on.
How long have you been doing the show for? I know when I saw Safiya's last show, she mentioned 8 years. So is that your sort of trajectory as well, or?
I've been on a little bit longer, and with that experience, when I look back at where we started and where we've gone with the show over time, I continue to feel that this show is a very important part of what we do here in Canada. Muslim communities here are very new. Many Muslims are immigrants from other parts of the world. Muslims need to understand the Canadian landscape to know how to integrate and how to practice their faith that they were accustomed to practicing in another part of the world here, but in a different way that fits within the Canadian landscape. Muslims also need to understand people of other religions, to understand Christianity in particular, but other religions more generally, and to see how Islam relates to these other religions so that we get to know our neighbors. And at the same time, I believe that our show is essential in helping our Canadian neighbors to understand who Muslims are and what the Islamic faith is all about.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because we came to Canada when I was about 9 years old. And I remember a couple of years into it, my dad would, always call us into the living room to watch an Islamic show. And it's obviously, parents calling you to watch an Islamic show, and you kind of drag your feet and go in. And in the beginning, it was, I was a little bit younger, so my intellectual abilities were a little, let's just say, slow for that matter. So I wasn't really engaged, but having grown up with Let the Quran Speak and seeing the show evolve, just talking about a lot of the issues, like I've noticed Islamophobia is sort of a big area of focus for Let the Quran Speak, and using that as a forum to raise awareness. I know that really helped me as well, and just seeing the show not just talk about pertinent issues that are going on within the community, but then again going back to the source, because I think a lot of the times that's the part that you miss, right? What does the Quran say, and how can we address some of those issues?
Yeah, when we started the show, you were asking about the history. Mm-hmm. It was actually in the year 2001, and it was a few months after we had started the show that the 9/11 bombings occurred. Mm-hmm. And soon after those bombings, we were there on air explaining what jihad really is and how people with radical Islamist ideologies have actually misinterpreted the Islamic faith, and they have hijacked Islam, and they pretend to speak on behalf of Muslims in general, but Muslims in general, including me in particular, would reject their ideologies and would decry this kind of violence in the name of our religion. And our show was actually quoted in some other media that was trying to, media that were trying to understand what is the Muslim response to this kind of attack. And since that event, we have continued to criticize those who have used the name of our religion to further their violence. And as more and more incidents like this occur, the relevance of our show continues to register in my own mind, and the importance of our continuing with this keeps being highlighted by all of these new and fresh incidents, which we continue to reel from. But we hope that our show will do some small bit in helping the public to understand the Muslim reaction to this kind of horrible crime that is being committed in the name of our religion.
Yeah, obviously I'm not saying this as a bias because I'm on the show now, but just thinking about, when issues, for example, we've recently heard about the Parliament shootings in Ottawa, this, you have a lot of, I think, young Muslims who are starting to speak out, but there isn't a particular show per se, or that I know of in Canada for that matter, that's a formal, Let the Quran Speak, that sort of regularly on, a bi-weekly or weekly basis addresses these issues. You're having a lot of, ad hoc YouTubers and people who use social media as a way to raise awareness, but that's what I really like about Let the Quran Speak, because it's sort of a systemic presentation output of sorts that serves as a, if there is an issue, then let's address it on Let the Quran Speak and let's go back to the sources. So I think that's something that's of great value, and I noticed on YouTube you guys have 1 million views, or is that on Facebook?
We do have a lot of viewers,
yes.
And of course with your presence now, I expect that the viewership will actually skyrocket.
No pressure,
so
right?
no pressure at all. So welcome to the show.
Thank you
it's
very
now your
much.
show.
And I look forward to working with all of you and the entire team that's obviously behind the camera.
And I'm excited to be working with you as well.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.